affected by this. I know you guys up in Pittwater were devastated by the fact of what happened to you, devastated by it because you lost your council, a very good council, due to all this shenanigans and faulty process, and were never allowed by the then mayor and by your local member really to actually be able to argue your day in court. You were denied it, while others like Hunters Hill and Wallara and others did go to court and they won. They won, but no one's got these documents yet.
And what they've given us so far is just feeding the chooks.
Feeding the chooks, yeah.
It's just been these modified or skimpy PowerPoint presentation proposals. That's all we've been given.
And just final figures at an earlier stage. But what they've given you is really significant, though I don't think they realise it, but they've given you draft documents, which they said they weren't going to give you, and they've given you papers and reports and analysis, which has got Cabinet in confidence stamped on it, not to be distributed, and yet they confess that even though that document has got that on it, it is disclosable. So what that reveals to the public is this whole idea of the government stamping every document that comes anywhere near the Cabinet for decision. With Cabinet in confidence, we can't disclose it to anybody, is really a totally sham process.
So the main issue, I think, which we're bringing up, which is new, is this idea of waiver, that the government, the Cabinet has waived its rights because it's already released so many documents.
No one's argued on this waiver, and I think waiver and the various sections of the GIPA Act which say that if they approve the release of it, then it's no longer Cabinet information. Means that they can't claim privilege over it. So is it release? Is it implied approval by the department to release this by saying basically we're relying upon this document in public, we're relying upon a document, and we say here that it's got underlying documents, but we're not going to show you the underlying document.
Guringai Council has won a court battle to prevent its merger. The Court of Appeal found the process used to justify the proposed amalgamation lacked procedural fairness, saying the decision relied on a KPMG report backing the merger, which wasn't made fully public, meaning it couldn't have been properly considered.
What Baston said is really important.
In Clause 90 of Baston's judgment, it would be incoherent for the Minister to assert that any material presented to Cabinet to support an amalgamation of local government areas should not be disclosed. Particularly is that so where the proposal expressly relied on financial information which was derived from an external report submitted to Cabinet. In Clause 91, further, there's no reason to assume that when an organisation such as KPMG prepares a business case in relation to council amalgamations, it would do so on an assumption that the government would never disclose the figures and information it supplied. The claim that in such a case candour and frankness might be compromised by disclosure borders on the fanciful. And in Clause 94, the public interest in preserving secrecy or confidentiality must be seen as so qualified that it carries little weight.
The fact that they still are hiding these documents, including the business case, all of it should be released. I just think your effort as a member of the community is really important, and really important for Pittwater too, because Pittwater was dudded like no other council, frankly. This is a pretty significant day in many respects, because what we're trying to do is to get documents in the public interest that have been grossly unfairly kept from the public. And this is the first kind of attempt by a member of the community. Now Benison was a member of the community too, but he was a councillor and former mayor. And of course Primrose was the local government minister, and Guringai Council's Guringai Council. So you had, in actual fact, no one who could say genuinely that they are a punter, member of the community who was outraged by what happened. And basically is wanting these documents revealed.
Well, there's my little boat shed over there, surrounded by trees along those point, and beautiful old Sydney. And when I was living there, Balmain was busy. The waterfront was busy with people.
Yep.
Now it's been gentrified, it's all just hardly gets used. And now behind it we got the Hungry Mile. Those three buildings there, Lend-Lease's 30-storey, 40-storey and 50-storey, which has been built. There's still to come the twin 60 stories, and then the Packer Casino 70-storey to come. What's this saying to our children? What's our city about? What's our culture about?
The one way that you can really test it is by trying to get the basic information behind the government decisions, because they all have business cases. They all have expert reports, and unless the public can get those kind of things, then they'll never know whether the whole thing was just rubbish or whether it was fair income or not. And that's what we're doing today. We're trying to get the material that the government based its whole case on to destroy 78 councils in New South Wales, based upon the KPMG report. It wasn't based upon representation or what's the right size for a community. It's just destroyed the lot. Now, one of the sections of the GIPA Act says embarrassment is no excuse for not revealing what's in the documents. You know, if it's in the public interest and on balance it ought to be released, or if it's not government information, then embarrassment by the government is not a reason for refusal. And if I had to guess, estimate what's in these documents, it's embarrassing things for the government. It's not material that goes to the heart of the figures, in a sense of the final figures as to how they were computed. It's how they've manipulated the figures to make it 20 years instead of 10 years, for example, because it made the figure sound much bigger. Phil, we're going to go catch the train and go up to NCAT, file the documents.
Phil, you've got to practice going backwards.
Well, this government's going backwards.
Next stop,
We're going, and you know it pretty well, I think, to NCAT, the New South Wales Civil Administrative Tribunal. What they do is they deal with, as you know, GIPA.
Yeah.
Used to be called Freedom of Information, but it's now Government Information
Public access.
yeah. Similar act, but it's designed. Its objects clause is fantastic because it says that governments should be accountable and open and should release information, etc. Then it's got some sections of it which are pretty, which are designed really to protect the government. And so cabinet in confidence, legal professional privilege and so forth, you've got to have you know, it's almost conclusive that if it goes to cabinet, you've got real problems with getting it. But there are other sections in the GIPA Act where the government approves its release or is deemed to approve its release. It's no longer government information, and therefore it's got to be released. In the court, the difficulty we've got is that if it's reasonable for the department to have taken the position it did in not releasing it, the court says that's enough. So it's not an easy task. I think they'll get a bit of a shock when they actually get these documents, I have to say, because what they're expecting is a member of the community doing his best, putting in the various requests and whatever, but now they're stuck with an 11-page submissions document referring to court cases from Louis Bayer's case through to Mackay and other cases. They're stuck with something they haven't had to face before. So I think that they now will know by late this afternoon that they've got a serious matter on their hand. I know that this case is based purely upon basic principles of fairness and common sense and public interest. And if they want to have a go at me on any of those factors, bring it on. It's not a good look what the government has done, frankly, in not providing you with the material. Originally, they provided you with nothing, basically, nothing. But they said there's public documents, but they didn't give you anything. Then you then said, no, we're going to have a review. Oh, they said, we just found a few documents. Here you are, run away.
Another 23.
Okay? Then you amended that about a month ago and said, no, we want the documents, all the documents. Oh, they said, look, we just found some more.
Another 27.
Another 27 of them, all right?
So it's an extra 50 so far.
So 50 documents that they didn't. So every time they're just rolling out material. What they don't realise is in what they're rolling out is material that's got on it cabinet in confidence. What the hell were they doing with cabinet in confidence on documents that they now admit they can give to the public? What a disgrace that is. What, they stick cabinet in confidence on anything that moves? Cup of coffee? Cabinet in confidence? What bullshit this is. This is applying right across the board. So it applies in relation to a lot of the cabinet decisions at the moment. So they're not releasing, they refuse to release business cases, underlying documentation, etc., is a tactic that the government is using. And the importance of this GIPA application that you're involved in my view, is that you are exposing that for basically the deceit and dishonesty of it right across the board. So it's what you're doing is of general applicability as far as I'm concerned.
We've got to go to the Information Commissioner up here on the 17th floor.
What a great position. The Information Commission is a separate body that was set up to help help the court basically with legal points and other aspects of the GIPA freedom of information. And it is independent. So what happens is that they have produced a report in this case which sets out the law, reasonable aspects of the law, and the reason that we're dropping one of these documents off today is so that the Information Commissioner can actually have a look at the legal arguments that are being raised and then itself put in some information to the court. Okay, so we're just about to go, are we not, into the Crown Solicitors, and what happens with that is that we serve the documents upon the department, basically through the Crown Solicitor's office, and they accept the documents on behalf of the Premier and Cabinet.
How are things at the campaign for the freedom of information, by the way?
Sorry, I can't talk about that.